Conditions today with a high near 44, tonight cloudy with a low around 37, and Wednesday partly sunny with a high around 49. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Welcome to The Gaily Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I am your host, John Parker, in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pound.
Hey, all.
All right, what is on the show today? A lot. In the second half hour, we're continuing our conversations with candidates for Minneapolis mayor. Our guest candidate today is Alejandro Richardson. We are curating all of our interviews with the candidates into a special playlist on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ The Gaily Show. Or you can find them, the individual episodes, everywhere you stream your podcast, or am950radio.com or heartlandsignal.com. But the YouTube channel, they're all right there. You can just play the first one, and then it'll go right into the next ones. So if you're a Minneapolis resident, you can look at those videos and get a sense of who you would like to vote for on November 4th. Okay, also on the show today, we're going to discuss the idea behind John Fugelsang's new book, The Separation of Church and Hate. I have some thoughts about it, but I think the book should be out there. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. There's some interesting new polling happening, both nationally and within a certain Speaker Emeritus district in San Francisco. But up first, the Associated Press has an absolutely terrifying story about healthcare in the United States. And it is a really in-depth story. And I was reading it this morning and I was like, oh, wow. And then I thought, you know what? No, I want to talk about this on the show today and really begin to break it down here. The headline is Anti-Science Bills Hit State Houses, Stripping Away Public Health Protections Built Over a Century. Now, I am very concerned, just as a former LGBTQ health equity advocate and someone who worked across the state of Minnesota on improving health outcomes for the LGBTQ community. When I see these coordinated attacks against healthcare writ large, I know, having done that work, that this will also disproportionately affect the queer community and communities of color and immigrant communities and people who live in outstate Minnesota or in rural areas across the country. Like, this is going to hit not uniformly. No. It is going to impact communities at varying degrees, and it's going to hurt not just red states, but blue states as well, based off of the decision that they are making. So they start with saying that they have found 420 anti-science bills attacking public health protections, from vaccines, milk safety, even down to fluoride in water, across state legislatures in the United States. This is just over the past year. And this is being led by a variety of organizations, but at the federal level, we see the Secretary, quote unquote, of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., also leading this effort. And it is, you have the Trump administration, according to this reporting from the Associated Press, are directly directing advocates to push anti-science legislation in their various states. And part of the reason why this is so problematic is that a lot of healthcare policy in the US actually happens at the state level. Like, accreditation for providers happens at the state level. A lot of funding happens at the state level. Yes, there is a lot that comes from the feds, and you can see how the Trump administration is weaponizing healthcare funding at the federal level. But a lot of decisions happen within the states, within the counties, within cities. And so they are making a coordinated push there through this so-called Make America Healthy Again. And it I want to start, they have a story here that I think really gets to what's happening or the impact of what this is going to be. So they're telling the story of Ashley and Eric Dahlberg of Lowell, Indiana, and their son, Liam. Liam was vaccinated against a Haemophilus influenza type B, or HIB. He was vaccinated against this. He passed away because his doctor said that he caught the virus anyway from someone who was unvaccinated. And there is this belief that in facts that if you get enough people vaccinated, then you will achieve herd immunity. Now, the level of, because I took a really deep dive into this today, the level of herd immunity varies depending on the disease. So for some diseases, it could be 85%. For some diseases, it could be 90%. For other ones, it could be high as 95 or 98%, where you need that many people vaccinated to achieve herd immunity. Herd immunity meaning that the virus doesn't have anywhere to go, and so it basically just dies out, right? This is how we were able in 2000 to say we've eradicated measles in the United States because our percentage of vaccinated kids was so high, the disease had nowhere to go, and we had no cases of it, which is how we were able to declare that measles was gone. The problem is that if you start to bring down herd immunity, you can get about 2% of people who are already vaccinated, because vaccines are not 100% safe. They're not always 100% effective for every single person. If you don't have that herd immunity, about 2% of people can still get that disease. And that's what happened in Liam Dahlberg's case. He was 8 years old. There are now experts saying that global vaccine efforts have saved more than 150 million lives since 1974. Cavities have declined dramatically, according to this AP News reporting, since we started introducing fluoride into our community water supplies. And that milk pasteurization has actually saved millions from foodborne illnesses. But now, the AP has searched 2025 legislation in all 50 states, analyzing more than 1,000 bills collected by the National Conference of State Legislators and the bill tracking software Plural for whether they undermine science-based protections for human health. Anti-vaccine bills, 350 of them, were by far the most common. Two bills in Minnesota, for our listeners in on AM 950 radio, you may have recalled this from reporting that and conversation that Matt McNeil had on the Matt McNeil Show earlier this year. 2 of these bills label vaccines as, quote, weapons of mass destruction.
Can we talk about who introduced those bills? I don't know.
I don't have that here in you can look that up if you want to. They don't have that specifically here.
Should be standing out in front of their offices.
In front of me, but at least 26 anti-vaccine laws have been adopted just in this year alone across 11 states. And there's this whole web of connections. I'm not going to get into here all of it because it took me like 3 or 4 reads of this article to begin to piece it all together. But you've got Secretary Kennedy Jr., you've got the MAHA, so Make America Healthy Again Action Group. You have this organization, Stand for Health Freedom. You've got the Weston A. Price Foundation. Then you have something that sounds very, the National Vaccine Information Center. This is something that they have been doing around climate change denial for years. This is something they've been doing around the LGBTQ community for years, where they go and they create these organizations that sound like they're very academic and very serious, the National Vaccine Information Center, the Stand for Health Freedom, but they're actually shady. Their funding is hidden, and the work that they do is all junk science. All junk science. For instance, the Children's Health Defense, which is what Kennedy used to run before he became the Secretary of Health and Human Services. And they are now coordinating across, here's a quote that they're giving: "This is a really sophisticated political operation as opposed to just a couple of parents that don't want to vaccinate their kids." An example bill is in Indiana from Republican Representative Bruce Borders, which would allow people to opt out of employer vaccine mandates. Another would require vaccine manufacturers to conduct certain safety studies, which all of that sound like that last one sounds reasonable. And you might be like, oh, well, people should have freedom of choice to opt out of an employer mandating that they should have to take a vaccine. Or, parents should be able to opt out of having their kids take the vaccine. Let's come back to Liam's story. Not everybody who is vaccinated will survive a disease if there isn't herd immunity. 2%. Now, 2% doesn't sound like a big number, but what happens when you have a school district that has thousands of students in it? What happens when you look across the United States and we're talking about millions of people? 2% now becomes a really large number. It is just absolutely terrifying that not only are they going after funding for healthcare, so in the big ugly bill earlier this year, they're taking away SNAP benefits, they're taking away Medicaid, they're taking away right now because of the shutdown, they're trying to get rid of subsidies for healthcare premiums. They're trying to take away our mechanisms for affording and accessing financially healthcare. And pretty soon that's going to result in hospitals closing. So literally having a location to find healthcare is going to be a problem. But they're now also trying to completely dismantle public health standards, starting with vaccines, that are going to result in hundreds of thousands of people dying in this country.
At what point can we say, I'm sorry, can I say something, or do you
I
want me to
actually
wait?
have to fit in a break here.
Oh, all right.
So we're going to take a break, and we are going to continue this conversation when we come back. You are listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter. Please be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We're going all in there. We've got all sorts of videos and shorts. We're bringing you the best in LGBTQ progressive radio news and talk on YouTube. More after the break.
He's greedy. He's scrumptious. He's horrid. Roald Dahl's The Enormous Crocodile the Musical is on stage now through November 23rd at Children's Theater Company, featuring eye-popping puppets, a rich score with great groove, and plenty of mischievous audience interaction. Don't miss the U.S. premiere of the smash UK hit. Get your tickets for The Enormous Crocodile the Musical today at childrenstheater.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. October is here, so Halloween is right around the corner. And if you're thinking of having a horror movie marathon with friends, you better make sure your home doesn't look like something out of one of those movies. Don't ghost your carpet this fall. My cleaning heroes at Zero Res can help get all those spooky smells and creepy stains out of your home. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, any surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Right now, you can get your entire home Zero Resified from Minnesota's ultimate carpet cleaner, with 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129. But there's something even scarier than ghosts and goblins hiding in your home, and it's in your air ducts. This month, take 15% off your air duct and dryer vent cleaning service. Don't let a missed deal haunt you. Call 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com today and ask for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
This season, bring the whole family to see Irving Berlin's White Christmas. This smash hit musical based on the classic film returns by popular demand to delight you at Chanhassen dinner theaters. With loads of laughter and a stunning showcase of Irving Berlin songs, White Christmas is a celebration of the romance, friendship, and magic of the holidays. Make your plans today to see White Christmas. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Discover Matrilineal Memory by hobby artist Michaela Schaefer, now in view at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. This evocative exhibition features paintings, poetry, and installations that explore memory and cultural preservation. Don't miss the Artist Talk with Michaela Schaefer on Saturday, November 15th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. at the gallery. Matrilineal Memory is open through December 13th. Experience art that transforms memory into connections and healing. Details at allmyrelationsarts.org.
There really is no place like home. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Home Health. When you're faced with an illness or an injury, being able to stay at home and receive care is important. Our home health offers a wide range of services, including skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapies, aides, homemakers, in-home respite care, and 24/7 live-in care. We'll work closely with your primary care provider to come up with an individualized plan for you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. Before we get into this segment, I want to take a moment to talk about our travel partner, Travel Marquette. And the reason why is that for the past 10 years, I have been traveling to Marquette every year, and it's become a very special place for me because I don't have to worry about traveling while queer there, and because it's a university town and a super blue city and a reliably blue county with a very active Pride organization. I was just there this past weekend. It's not Pride Month, but I still saw Pride flags throughout the city. I was even at a gas station where I saw, on those little TV screens when you're pumping your gas, that there was a video. They have those stories. There was a video about a gay couple adopting 5 kids and how great that was. I don't want to say that Marquette is the greatest place in the world for queer people, but it really is a lovely place that is very inclusive, and I have enjoyed going there for the past 10 years. It was an opportunity this past weekend to just disconnect from the news and to eat good food and to buy good books and to be at the Fresh Coast Film Festival, which was last week. They've got a stand-up comedy festival coming up and then a laser extravaganza later in November. We'll have details for that on our website. But if you'd like to get your adventure started at Marquette, you can go to travelmarquette.com. That's travelmarquette.com to start your adventure. Connect with me on Blue Sky. I'll give you all sorts of fun recommendations for where to eat and where to shop there. And I'll have reporting about the Fresh Coast Film Festival tomorrow on the show. All right, we were talking before the break about this AP News report and how they are coming after our healthcare in hundreds of pieces of legislation across the country in state legislators. And picking that story up again, AP found that more than 70 bills would roll back access to fluoride in the water supply. Florida has already banned it. Utah is now already banned it as well. And we know what is going to happen here. The rates of cavities and problems with dental health is going to go up now. There's no other place for it to go. It's not going to stay flat where it is right now. It's going to go up. And so all these families that are sitting there going, well, I don't want my kids drinking fluoride. You are now giving yourselves more costs because you're going to be taking your kids to the dentist more. And they're at the dentist, you're going to have to be paying more for the cavity work that they're going to be dealing with or other oral health issues that are going to be coming up there. There are raw milk. They're all about raw milk right now, not drinking pasteurized milk anymore. And we're seeing Florida, the number of people getting sick from raw milk going up exponentially. So you have the Florida Surgeon General, Dr. quote unquote, Joseph Ladapo or Ladapo, saying that Floridians have the freedom to make informed health choices. Not when it is based on made up science.
Or when they're trying to deliberately deceive My frustration here is that I feel if we back up a few feet, this former party, now movement or cult, is about harming humans. It is an anti-human movement. It's not politics. It's not issues or positions on issues. It's anti-human to not want people to have health insurance because of our stupid for-profit system. It is anti-human to take away vaccinations, which harm 0.1% of the population and help 99.9% of the population. It is anti-human to take away fluoridation from the water. Nobody ever brought that up before. This is arbitrariness.
Well, nut jobs.
Right, but nobody that anyone thought didn't belong in a padded room. And they've turned these into their issues because they don't have real issues.
Brought to you by the same people who said that taking the COVID vaccine will make you magnetic.
So what you can tell your person that you know that's a MAGA is that they are harming thousands, tens of thousands of human beings by having anything to do with this party. They are anti-human. That's how I would refer to them, and that's how you should refer to your relatives and friends that have that problem.
That's Jim's very
anti-human.
There we go. That's Jim. Something I want to also lay out here is this idea of personal freedom, parents' rights, and individual freedom.
Ugh.
We've been talking about that here at the Gaily Show, but also just as a queer person living in America, this idea has been very well honed in attacking the LGBTQ community. When it comes to book bans, when it comes to LGBTQ curriculum, of having LGBTQ favorable support positions in elementary schools, in junior highs, in high schools, on college campuses. This is the idea. The parents' rights movement, the individual freedom movement, has been weaponized to sort of create this weird, vague philosophy to then go in and attack the community. Well, now they have very clearly established this as a quasi-legal framework because you have folks like the Supreme Court that are all on board on this. And they have created it, and now they are bringing it to you. They are bringing it to you, America, to getting rid of healthcare protections, not just access to healthcare financially, not just access to healthcare, meaning that there's a hospital and a clinic within a 50-mile radius of where you live, but they're coming after your literal health protections, where you can now, because we are getting rid of herd immunity, there is a percentage of us that will still contract measles because we don't have herd immunity anymore, and because vaccines are not 100% safe. You need the vaccination, and then you need the herd immunity to make sure that we're not getting these diseases like measles.
You're saying vaccines are safe. Do you mean effective? Do you mean
safe and effective?
Oh, okay. Well, they're largely safe, but not entirely.
They are safe. Vaccines are safe.
Right. Thank you. That's what I wanted.
Vaccines are safe.
Thank you. I wanted to clarify that.
All right. It is a terrifying study, and it's good journalism. It is excellent journalism. And so it is on the AP News website. The headline is Anti-Science Bills Hit State Houses, Stripping Away Public Health Protections Built Over a Century. All right. Interesting polling that I've got about a minute left here. And there's some polling. Again, I want to be mindful. Polling was all for, Kamala Harris last year. And then, look what happened. But right now, according to a Gallup Party identification poll, Democrats are ahead of Republicans by 7 points when asking voters to say which party they consider themselves part of. And right now, Democrats are leading that by 7 points. Interestingly, because the Democratic Party is, facing this supposedly polling of nobody likes the Democratic Party, and yet Democrats are overperforming and winning special elections all this year, flipping very deep MAGA red seats in state legislatures. So, interesting little tidbit of polling information. We are going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to have Minneapolis mayoral candidate Alejandro Richardson. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820.
Wake up with your favorite sexy liberal, me, Stephanie Miller.
Alejandro, hello. We are on a hot mic right now, just so you know. We're still streaming on YouTube, even though on the radio we're on a commercial break. I'm John. It is great to meet you.
Hi, John. How's it going?
Good. I really appreciate your taking the time. Do you see on the right-hand side of your screen a little icon that says private chat?
Oh,
He left. That's not good. See, I shouldn't say anything. Oh, there we go.
of course, I clicked the one button that takes me out of the studio.
No worries.
I see. So I do see a little chat icon.
Okay.
Let's see.
In there, because we're going to have to switch back to the feed, so you'll hear the commercial break. If you just look in that private chat, I'll put time cues in there to how much time is left in the commercial break. We've got the next half hour held for you, but I mean, if we get through the questions before the next commercial break, then we get through the questions. It's really up to you in the amount of time that you want to take and answer the questions. I just want to let you know that we've got time for that.
Absolutely.
Do you have any questions for me before we go back to the commercial feed?
Can you hear me okay? I guess that's my big question.
Yes, he sounds good, Patrick. Patrick's our producer in the control room. Everything sounds good.
Okay, awesome. No, I don't think I have any questions. If you have anything to update me on or let me know beforehand, let me know. I'm not super well versed in interviews of any kind. I'm pretty new to all this, but if I'm doing anything wrong, just let me know.
No worries. This is going to be good. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. We're going to keep it chill.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for rainy and windy conditions today with a high near 44. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 37. And Wednesday, partly sunny with a high around 49. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am John Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. A couple weeks ago, we broadcasted live from the Home Hope Health Minneapolis mayoral candidate and voter education forum, and then AM 950 radio aired that full forum live. You can find that on our YouTube channel. But we here at the Gaily Show wanted to continue that coverage, so we are inviting candidates for Minneapolis mayor to join us for a conversation specific to the LGBTQ community. We are the only ones on the radio that are doing that coverage, and we are continuing those interviews today. Where a candidate joins us, will be given the same questions as all the other candidates and the same amount of time in which to answer them. We've curated all of these interviews with the candidates into a special playlist on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thegailyshow, where you can find you can watch the videos, or you can. It's been a long day of talking, folks. Or you can go to am950radio.com to watch the individual episodes yourself, or everywhere you stream your podcasts. Today, our guest candidate is Alejandro Richardson. Alejandro is a union carpenter born and raised in South Minneapolis who believes that the two-party system needs to be left behind and that Minneapolis deserves great local independent candidates to rebuild our city into what's best for all Minneapolis residents. He is a rank-and-file union carpenter and the elected vice president of Local 68, representing approximately 2,500 members throughout the Twin Cities Metro. He is the current chair of the union's executive committee, and he has previously served on the bargaining committee negotiating its commercial agreement, which covers over 10,000 members. Mr. Richardson, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you. So can we start by you sharing with our listeners specific actions that you've taken in your career that have supported the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked closely in all my careers in my short time in the working world. So the last 15 years or so, closely with coworkers who identify as LGBTQ. I've always done everything I could to support them, whether it be just as a friend and a coworker, or during times where they felt pressure or some sort of grievance from our employers. So I started off working in restaurants and bars as a bartender and a server here in Minneapolis, and I had a number of coworkers that identified as either as gay, and they always felt my full support. They've always known that I'm a safe person to come to talk to with any issue. And now in my current role as the vice president of my local, I always do everything that I can to reach out to those members, knowing that coming especially into my field, into commercial construction, it can be a little bit intimidating. It's not a field that has long been accepting of different lifestyles and values, particularly those of the LGBTQ community. And so just letting them know right off the bat, like as soon as I make any contact with them, hey, like, I don't see you as any different than anybody else here on this job site in my union, and you have my full support. And if anybody gives you any shit, just let me know.
I just want to be mindful for our FCC folks. We shouldn't swear on.
Yes, yeah. Geez, sorry, just got off the job site.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to be mindful of that. We don't
absolutely
looking at us right now, particularly this.
No,
week.
we don't. No, we
don't. My next question to you: in 2024, according to exit polls, 86% of LGBTQ voters cast their ballots for the Harris-Walz ticket. However, since November, pollsters for Legacy Media, the Democratic Party, certain think tanks, certain Democratic governor have called for centrists and moderates and independents, as well as the larger Democratic Party, to either downplay LGBTQ rights or just stop supporting rights altogether. But this comes at a time when the LGBTQ community is facing the Trump administration, who is banning LGBTQ school curriculum, ending educational supports for LGBTQ students, revoking federal funding to colleges who provide LGBTQ services, banning transgender service members. As mayor, how would you reconcile this fight between those who want political leaders of all kinds to downplay or walk away from the LGBTQ community when the community needs the most support vis-a-vis the Trump administration?
Yeah, great question, John. So this is something that I see as one of the, as you said in my introduction, one of the major failures of our two-party system, of our major parties, both the Democrats and Republicans, that they are so beholden to these larger forces that we know kind of only serve a certain number of interests, and they're going to go with the kind of the popular flow, or whatever's going to, for lack of a better way to say it, sell the most votes. And so as we've seen kind of this resurgence of conservativeness in general, it's hit the Democratic Party and the progressive side of our political spectrum as well. And so as mayor, what I would do to reconcile that is make very clear that I don't align with any of the greater party values, or any of the information that's being kind of forced upon us about what we should or what we shouldn't do, because that's what's going to get us the votes, whatever. I would take a very clear and strong stance that know, Minneapolis is a safe home for LGBTQ members, for people seeking sanctuary, whether they be trans, whether they be an LGBTQ identifying member, or someone who's just looking for support and maybe questioning, whatever it is that they are. And so just with all, starting from the top down, I believe that the mayor is the spearhead of that fight, that they need to just set a clear example, not just optically, but both in their policy, that we're going to continue to advance this fight and protect the rights of those individuals.
We're talking with Alejandro Richardson, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. Early voting is currently underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. There you can also find information on how to register to vote. Election day is November 4th. Mr. Richardson, our news partner, Windy City Times in Chicago, has discovered that in Chicago, no major hospital provides gender-affirming care anymore to trans youth because their federal funding was threatened by the Trump administration. In Michigan, their attorney general put hospital systems on notice, saying that the availability of federal funds from the Trump administration should not and does not determine whether or not those healthcare systems should comply with state laws. In Pennsylvania, a complaint has been filed by trans patients with the state's Human Rights Commission against a hospital system when they stopped providing trans healthcare services after threats from the Trump administration. As mayor, how would you support healthcare systems in Minneapolis to continue providing gender-affirming healthcare and hold them accountable if they stop?
Clearly, right now, this is kind of a big legal fight, and I am by no means am I a legal expert on really any subject to the degree that maybe like a lawyer or our city attorney would be. So the first thing that I would do would be to consult with them and say, hey, like where do we need to be making inroads? Where do we need to be, taking this fight to whatever level of court it needs to be taken to, and making sure that they understand that that is a fight that we are willing to have here in Minneapolis, that we're willing to challenge all of those attacks. And should direct calls need to be made to the federal government, I would be more than happy to make those calls, to have those tough conversations and say, hey, I understand, that the federal government has its agenda, but here in Minneapolis, here in Minnesota, we have our own way of doing things. And I agree with, I believe you said Michigan, the stance that they took, that, the availability of federal funds is not what determines the access to healthcare and the following through on state law surrounding those things. So making sure that our laws are duly enforced and upheld within the courts.
My final question to you today is, what specific actions would you take as mayor to stand up to the Trump administration's anti-LGBTQ executive orders? And there are a lot of them, which includes freezing federal funding to force our compliance to those executive orders.
I think that conversations need to be had. This is one of the major reasons why I'm running, that I believe that our progressive left wing, as good as they are at certain things, they are not always the best at reaching across the aisle, and they're not always the best at playing ball with some of these conservative wings, particularly in our federal government. And so having conversations with them, saying, it's hard to say what specific actions one city mayor can take against the federal government, because they do frankly have a lot of power. So I would be more interested in a diplomatic solution, saying, hey, is there a way that we can back off of this a little bit? I will meet you at the table and I will hear you out. But at the end of the day, this is an overreach of federal government, and there needs to be a way for us to make some kind of compromise that allows states to retain their independence on these issues, because that is something that I believe that we're completely entitled to from the state to the city level, apart from the federal government. So again, it's hard to say that there are necessarily policies that I could put in place on day one that would protect us from these actions, but I will have every conversation needed with every expert on the subject within the city government, and then take that to the federal government and say, hey, I understand that you haven't liked the way the Democrats have been pushing back on this. I am not a Democrat. I am an independent. I was a registered Democrat for a long time, full transparency, but through seeing kind of the ineffectiveness of that party, it led me to identify more as an independent and say, you know what, we need to be bringing both of these sides close together rather than continuing to draw these divides.
Thank you for that. Those are all of my questions, but we still have some time before the commercial break. So would you like to tell our listeners why you're running for mayor of Minneapolis?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I've covered it a little bit so far in our interview, but the real, what it really comes down to is when I looked at our list of candidates, and now having gone through this process and been a candidate and gotten to know a lot of the other candidates, I have a lot of respect for them all. And when I first looked at my own choices as a Minneapolis voter, I'm a 30-year resident of Minneapolis. My entire life I've lived here, and it's the only place that I ever intend to call home. And seeing the list of candidates that we had and understanding what our prospects were in terms of, the potential victors in the race, I didn't see anyone that really inspired the idea of change in me. And I have always been someone who's been very adamant that if you can identify a problem and you have the capacity to do something about it, then you should do so. And I have never ran for public office before, but I have been a leader in my community and in everything that I've ever done my entire life, and I always will be. And so this message that, it's really working class residents of Minneapolis that deserve to hold seats in power, and that we know not only deserve to be represented by our elected officials, but we deserve to be among them making decisions at that table. I think that's really what's going to bring us back, because we understand, we're facing a number of challenges in Minneapolis, similar challenges to many other major cities across the US. And the idea that, to be frank with you, the idea that either a current sitting mayor that we have, or, an app developer, a lawyer, a DC staffer, or, a seated politician, these are all cards that we've seen played before. And it's never worked. It never has. And I don't believe that in the near or medium term future that it ever will. I think that it's up to working people who have the capacity to do more, to step into these roles of leadership. It is going to be us that bring forth the decisions in policymaking that benefit everyone. Because we are all selfish people. We're all human beings are going to do what's in their own best interest at the end of the day. But having somebody at the table whose best interests really align with the majority of the city, with the majority of the constituents, I think that's incredibly important. And so, it's a message that is at this point still kind of a long shot, and it needs to be carried forward. And so, Minneapolis, it's inevitable. Maybe you're not ready for me right now, but we'll see you in 4 years if not.
We're talking with Alejandro Richardson, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. Early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. There you can also find information on how to register to vote. Mr. Richardson, thank you for joining me again today.
Yeah, absolutely, John. It was a pleasure. Keep fighting the good fight, doing the good work that you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Folks, you can find more information about Alejandro's candidacy. You can visit alejandroformayor.com. We're going to take a quick break here, but there are still lots to come on the Gaily Show on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk where facts matter.
All right, John. Thank you.
So an atheist, a Christian, and a Buddhist walk into a church. There's no punchline. That's just what happens every Sunday at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. It's all the thoughtful reflection, community, and warmth of a Sunday service without religious doctrine. Curious? Find out what we're all about. Join us for Sundays Reimagined at First Unitarian Society or live stream at firstunitarian.org. Think outside the pew.
Hey, Francois, where are we going and why do you have so many canvas bags?
Salut, Laura. On y va chez Nicolette's Macarons.
Oh, I've never been to Nicolette's store. They're just off Highway 169 and 36th in Plymouth.
Oui, ils ont 16 saveurs de macarons là.
They have 16 flavors of macaroons at the store. That's why you have so many canvas bags. I love how Nicolette supports small food entrepreneurs. Let's hurry. They're open afternoons, Wednesday through Friday, and midday on Saturdays.
Nicolette, c'est génial. Allons-y.
Let's go.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Oh, you know what that music means? It means I'm back, baby! The Grinch. Don't miss seeing me at Children's Theatre Company this holiday season. Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas is great for anyone who likes classic Grinchy tunes, and me, the mean one in the flesh, or in the green fur. Make your plans to spend the holiday season with me. You'll remember it forever. Tickets and showtimes at childrenstheatre.org.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I'm John Parker. We are coming up on the top of the hour. I want to thank so far the Minneapolis candidates who have joined us here on the Gaily Show. And I want to remind folks that you can watch all of the interviews with the candidates that are joining us here at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@thegailyshow. We have a specialized playlist with all of the candidates. You can just go on there and you can listen specifically just to their interviews, not the entire episodes that they appeared on those dates. And we have another, we'll pick up the interviews again next week with Minnesota State Senator Omar Fateh, who will sit down with me and have a conversation about the LGBTQ community. There is an election story coming out of San Francisco that I wanted to flag for folks. This is from reporting with LGBTQ Nation. 55-year-old outlaw, not an outlaw, LGBTQ community member, 55-year-old Scott Weiner is running to replace 85-year-old Democratic icon Nancy Pelosi. So what's interesting about this is that so far, State Senator Weiner has said that he's going to wait until former Speaker of the House Pelosi decides that she's going to step down. And he has had a exploratory committee, and I didn't realize it had been this long, but Nancy Pelosi has represented this district since 1988. I mean, what is happening here? So anyway, I mean, that's a whole other discussion about, if we're just going to keep electing the same people, like, why even have a democracy? But 2 years ago, Senator Weiner launched an exploratory committee for that congressional seat. And he's raised over $1 million since creating that exploratory committee, and has said, I will wait until she decides whether or not she's going to run for a 20th term. But that apparently is over because there are other candidates who are filing paperwork to challenge Nancy Pelosi in the 2026 election. And so he is no longer waiting to see if she is going to run or not. The San Francisco Standard has broken the story about this and has said that he is he is for sure running for Nancy Pelosi. It's not Nancy Pelosi's seat. That's the thing here, though. It is the people's seat. And Nancy has just continued to run and hold that since 1988. And it is time, according to polling in San Francisco, for a generational change, with 51% of respondents in a recent poll saying that they would like an alternative to Pelosi. Senator Weiner has the highest favorability of all of the named candidates or known candidates or folks we know are planning to run. Has a 61% favorability rating among all of the potential challengers there. And the out gay lawmaker, according to LGBTQ Nation, has made quite the reputation for himself in San Francisco. He is the first as a supervisor in former San Francisco City Supervisor Harvey Milk's seat. So Harvey Milk was the first openly gay person elected to office, openly elected to office in the United States. And Senator Weiner has been occupying that seat, or had that seat for a number of years, and then went on to successfully run for state senator, where he has been a very, I think it's a great word that LGBTQ Nation has used here, tenacious legislator. If you look at what he has been doing in the California legislature, he's been going not after LGBTQ rights, but he has also been very supportive of affordable housing on public transportation. Just last week, Governor Newsom signed his law expanding, Senator Weiner's law, expanding the State of Refuge Act, which is granting protections to transgender people in California. So far, we know that he will be facing off against at least one super rich, Saikat Chakrabarti, who is a progressive tech centimillionaire. I don't know what a centimillionaire is. Who was a campaign manager and chief of staff to U.S. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Interestingly, this will be a fight for sure in the left, given the district, because Weiner is left of center to be sure, but Chakrabarti is definitely a democratic socialist, championed values from being, working for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So that is going to be a very interesting race. And I imagine the pressure is going to be on now to see if former House Speaker Pelosi will run again in 2026 or will gracefully retire. She can retire. She's 85 years old. I don't understand why all of these folks think they need to be in their 90s. Particularly having seen what happened to Dianne Feinstein, Senator Feinstein from California, who basically died in office. I mean, was she actually doing the job in those last months or, years? Why was she still in office? Why couldn't she resign? Why were people not primarying her? We've got Senator Grassley in Iowa, who's in his 90s. In his 90s. Like, it's time for a generational change. Absolutely time for a generational change. And so I hope that Speaker Pelosi gracefully resigns so that we can celebrate her career and everything that she's accomplished as the first woman to be Speaker of the House in the United States, and multiple times in 2006, and then again under the Barack Obama administration and President Obama administration. And so, shepherded through big pieces of legislation through Congress, both under President Obama and under President Biden. And so that should be celebrated. We shouldn't be sitting here going, why is she staying in office for so long? And the same goes for you, frankly, Senator Schumer and Senator Grassley and a whole bunch of other people. That, though, is a story for another day. I want to thank you all for listening today. Join us up next, on WCPT 820 is Chew's Views with Richard Chew. On AM 950 Radio, it's the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, step into the unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.